Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs here on Golf Channel. Nice to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. You can also listen on PGA Tour Radio. That's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I'm Gary Williams, and this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. Of course, their relationships with the First Tee, with the USGA, with the PGA Tour, investing in great things in the game of golf. Golf Pride. These three North Carolina-based companies, we're so proud to be aligned with all three of them. They are the leader globally when it comes to players at all levels, trusting them with respect to their grips. Peter Millar, everything I've worn for the last 15 years, and they have been refining performance, luxury, and style for the better part of 2 decades. And finally, the cradle of American golf, and those cottages at Pinehurst number 8 are available next month, and that next month is just a couple days away in the month of May. Of course, we know Pinehurst number 11 is on the way as well. It's always a good day to be at Pinehurst. And as I look at my monitor and I see this jacket, I think to myself, should I say, Eric Stratton, Rush Chairman, damn glad to meet you. I don't know. I don't know if this jacket is so preposterous, it's fantastic, or if it's merely just preposterous. I have no idea, but they could be flying off the shelves at your local Peter Millar store any day now. All right, it is a Wednesday, our final day of the week, and we are expected to be joined by the newly minted United States President's Cup captain, Brandt Snedeker. That was announced yesterday, alongside the International President's Cup captain, Geoff Ogilvy. This is going to be a great matchup for a couple of reasons. One, these two guys are going to spend a fair amount of time together as they promote this event over the better part of the next year and a half as they head toward Medina in Chicago. And Medina has great history on its side, not only in team competitions, but also major championships. But since the last time everybody saw it, it has undergone a major renovation, restoration, and almost a resuscitation, so to speak, because Geoff Ogilvy, yes, the aforementioned Geoff Ogilvy, he and his design team with Mike Cockey and Ashley Mead were given not a blank canvas, but given great liberty to retool and rebuild Medina course number 3. So all indications are they did a fantastic job. So you have the captain of the international side that obviously is intimately familiar with the design principles of the golf course. And then you have the U.S. captain who played on a Ryder Cup team in 2012 at Medina. And finally, with respect to these two guys, you know, Geoff won the U.S. Open in 2006 at Winged Foot, and anybody who knows him, he's done a modest amount of television, and anytime he shares his thoughts on anything, whether it be players or whether it be design, you sit forward and you listen. Same as to a Brandt Snedeker. Brandt, a recent recipient of the Payne Stewart Award, which is given to people who are credits to the game of golf. These are the type of people, when you look at their ledger and you look at their receipts, they're giving far more than they're receiving from the game, not to mention what he does in terms of the development of players at all levels. They are aligned with the Korn Ferry Tour, not to mention kids at younger ages finding their footing in the game, whether it's going to be an elite player or just to make golf a part of their life. That is why the selection of these two men is going to be very, very good for this competition. And with that being said, he joins us now. I believe he's back home in Nashville, Tennessee. The United States President's Cup captain. There he is, Brandt Snedeker. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, listen, thank you for doing this. Let me start with this. You do this whirlwind car wash media tour yesterday. You jet back home. Did you and Mandy, maybe last night, kids are put to bed, you sit in the kitchen, and you think about the responsibility that you now have in front of you? Did it hit you after everybody now knows, you've known for a little bit of time? Did it kind of hit you last night at all?
It did. It got really heavy yesterday. You know, it was kind of a far off thing. It seemed when they called me a couple weeks ago and told me this is a possibility, this is going to happen. And I think the weight of yesterday, the responsibility, everything we kind of went through in Chicago, and then getting home and sitting down with my wife, Mandy, and realizing what the next 16 months are going to be like, how much work we have ahead of us, the responsibility they've given us of getting these 12 guys and families and everybody ready to play and represent the United States of America in Chicago, and what that's going to look like. So it became Rio last night became heavy. It's exciting, obviously, and I couldn't be more proud to represent my country, the PGA Tour, and everything we're trying to do up at Medina. Have it be a special week.
Brandt, let me take you back because I know it's indelible for you. 2012 Friday morning, day one of the Ryder Cup. You're first off with Jim Furyk, and you're playing Rory McIlroy and Graham McDowell. And I'll get to my point here. And you hit an errant tee shot on 18. You guys lose one down. I walked with that match that Friday morning. The next day, you're in the anchor match in foursomes again. You and Furyk, and it's Rory and Graham, and you beat them one up. Graham, the duality of the emotions between Friday to Saturday is extreme. Now you're the captain, and you have to gauge players that you're going to be captaining going through similar situations like that. What did that experience teach you about how much can transpire over the course of 3 days in a competition like this?
Yeah, I think it's a great example of the emotions you're going to have to deal with in a Ryder Cup. I went from the highest of highs the week before 2012 of winning the FedEx Cup, and then go through the emotions of I didn't play my best on Friday. I kind of felt like I'd let the team down by hitting a terrible tee shot on the last hole and costing us a point. And then, on Saturday, I went out there and played a great round of golf with Jim. We were able to beat them one up on the 18th hole, and feel like I contributed. And so you have this roller coaster of emotions you're going to go through as a player. My job as a captain is to kind of understand that we're going to be doing that, try to mitigate those lows, and try to really roll with those highs, and try to be the even keel captain. Try to understand that this is what we're going to be dealing with. We're expecting this. This is not something out of the ordinary. We're going to have lows. We're going to have highs. Let's just try to ride it out. Let these 12 guys be the great players they are. Know that we as captains and vice captains have their back 1,000%. We'll do everything possible to help them, and just kind of have a great experience for them. So it's a very important week. It's a tough week on you emotionally, but it's one of those weeks you never want to miss, and you want to be a part of every single one of them. And so I think my job as captain is to explain that to these guys that we're going to do everything possible to love on them, to take care of them, to care about them and their families and their caddies, make them have a great experience, and just let them go out there and let their natural talent shine. And it should be a great week for Team USA.
The traits that you hope that your players possess in the time now in a decade and a half of being in the system as a player, as a vice and assistant captain, what are the most valuable traits that week that you want your team to possess?
I think the biggest thing is to have trust in each other, to have belief in each other, to buy into being on a team together. I thought Jim did a fantastic job in Montreal of getting everybody to buy in, to be a part of a team. It's not just 12 people that are going to be out there representing Team USA. It's support staff, it's caddies, it's wives, it's your families, it's everybody, and having everybody kind of buy into what that team needs that week and play that role, whatever it might be for them, was super important. And every great team I've been on or been a part of, that was the overall theme, was everybody bought into, hey, if you need me to play 5 matches, I'll play 5 matches. If you need me to play 1 match, I'll play 1 match. I don't care. I just want to win. And if we can have 12 guys that do that, and know that we have the captains there that want to support that, we'll do anything they can for them. I think it'll be a great week for us. And the great thing about these team competitions is they bring out the best of the best golfers in the world. You will see shots, you will see guys kind of step up and do things that you didn't think were possible. And at Medina, what Jeff's done there, the venue, the viewing is going to be spectacular. There's going to be, so many fans there. There's going to be so many cool viewing opportunities for people to see great golf shots, and for the crowds to play a big role in what happens. I can't wait to see 25,000 people stacked around the 17th green there and 16th green, going crazy for great shots. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
In a fantastic sports market to boot. You were an early adopter of metrics and data as it applied to how you could get better as a player, and now it's such a critical part of the construct of these teams. Let me ask you, the difference between the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, you have an opportunity, based on the way you roll out matches, to match people up. You're blind on half, and then you can choose. What is the nuance difference as far as applying metrics to matchups, whereas the Ryder Cup, it's all blind?
Yeah, there's definitely an advantage there. I think there's something you need to look at strongly. We did a great job in Montreal of kind of using those stats and metrics to kind of pair guys up, also to pair up against matches that we thought were important. If you're not using it, you're kind of losing a little bit to the field, and so I think they're going to play a role at Medina. They're going to play a role this year at Bethpage as well. I think you use those things as a tool in your tool belt, but I think the hardest thing people don't realize is the application of those stats is almost as important as the stats themselves. How do you use that information? How is it siphoned to you so you understand you can use it in real time and it doesn't become all over almost too much to handle. There's so much data and so much stats out there. It's the things that important is the siphoning of that data down to a small little thing you can use and use it fast and use it accurately. And so it's going to be a huge part of what we do in Bethpage. It's going to be a huge part of what we do in Medina. And I think the President's Cup does a great job of giving the captains the ability to use those matchups to take people that you think would make a great pairing or a great spot for them if they have are having a beef with somebody, or if there's somebody they want to play on the other side, or somebody got them last time they want to get them again. You have the ability to put those guys up against each other and kind of make those dream matchups happen.
I love it. I think it's one of the best wrinkles. I wish the Ryder Cup would adopt it. This is an intense competition. It's also a TV show. Like you said, if there's a little bit of chippiness or some beefing, look, again, I go back to that match you guys have with Rory and Graham on Friday morning. That got squirrely, like I think it might have been on the third green. I love the fact that type of thing can be realized going, I want a piece of him. If it sets up, let's make that happen. Let me ask you about something I've contended, for the better part of a decade, and that is that the United States international teams, whether it be President's Cup or Ryder Cup, and I know the Tiger Phil thing was challenging. It was challenging for all the captains. Flexibility, interchangeable parts. How important is it for you to feel like all your players have the flexibility to be paired with multiple guys? Look, you want to ride hot hands, but you also want to know that you have the ability to mix and match to really, I think, improve your overall depth. How important is that to you?
I think it's important. I don't think it's massive as massive you're making it. I think the biggest thing that these guys want today is they want a clear plan of what's going to happen when we show up there on Thursday morning for the first tee ball. So I think the biggest thing and most important thing a captain can do is give these guys a clear plan of, hey, you're going to be playing with this guy in Thursday alternate shot, Friday best ball, Friday alternate shot. This is our plan. We're sticking through it through Friday. Unless something crazy happens, we might make a change on Saturday. These guys just want to know, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is who you're going to be playing with. We're not going to throw any curveballs at you last minute. We're not going to be able to, have you play with somebody you haven't practiced with, because, these things are so stressful and there's so much pressure on yourself. Adding a new wrinkle to them at the last second does not do anything but make it even harder on themselves. So I think the biggest things captains can do is say, hey, here's our plan. Here's who you're going to be playing with. And it might be multiple people, it might not be one guy, but you have a clear plan in front of them of what they're going to look at. And then having, Jim did a great job. He made a pairing up the last second on Saturday at Montreal of moving Colin and Sam Burns together because they were both playing so good. And so, yes, it's great to have that flexibility and that ability at the last minute. But I think what's more important is giving these guys a clear plan of what you want to have happen and who you want to play with, so that they know, okay, it's my routine now. It's just like everything else. I can get to the golf course. I know who I'm playing with. We're good to go.
That's totally reasonable. Let me ask you about the evolution of this event in relation to the other one in this respect. I felt that the two events, and it's challenging, PGA of America, PGA Tour, it was too territorial. I think it's more pragmatic now, Brandt. I think you're seeing that. Sharing of thought, captains, vice captains that represent both teams. It seemed like if you captain one, you disqualified yourself for the other. It's now looked on more as a long-range view of this is USA golf. Is that true? Is that happening?
I believe so, yes. I mean, I think Jim did a great job last year of kind of bridging the gap for us, of kind of connecting these two organizations. And I think Keegan's gone even farther this year. of bringing guys in, of trying to bring these two organizations. And I give credit to Jay Monahan and the PGA of America for sitting down and trying to figure this thing out, trying to get a coherent plan together where we can use this to our advantage for both competitions and not have it be a detriment, right? We can set up almost like a Team USA basketball organization where they have people kind of working throughout 24, throughout every month of the year, trying to create a plan where we have these two entities working together to create a great cohesive bond of captains, vice captains, players, so that we can almost use the same blueprint each year and continue to kind of bring guys to their program, bring guys up, so that when a captaincy comes around, somebody's available who's got experience, who knows what's going on, who can step right in and have a great blueprint for how to do things. And it's not an overwhelming and unencompassing thing where you're kind of, drinking through a fire hose. You don't really know what you're doing. So I think there's been a lot of movement that way. I give total credit to both organizations for sitting down and coming together and trying to put their heads together and come up with a great plan. And a ton of credit to Jim and Keegan and the past captains for kind of pushing this thing along.
The Brain Trust, you guys are going to have cohesion as you go, obviously to Bethpage and then beyond it to Medina, where you will be the captain. You mentioned Keegan, and you were asked yesterday about, the idea of him playing, and I understand this about the President's Cup, but again, just indulge me here. You suggested that if he's on the team, there would be kind of a by committee type of thing. Is that something that's being talked about now? That in the event that he is on that team, that you guys are going to have to shoulder this load much more significantly than if he's not?
We don't really have a set in stone plan. I think what we want to see is Keegan go out there and play great golf, and I want us to have a problem to figure out.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, everybody on this team wants Keegan to be on the team. I think he encompasses everything that's great about the Ryder Cup, about team competitions, his fire, his passion. I think we saw it come through last year at Montreal, the way he played, securing the cup for us and the amount of passion he played with. And the guys saw how he elevated his game. I think we all want to see Keegan play great golf this year, win tournaments, be the guy that we know he's capable of being, and then deal with a great problem. I think that would be a fantastic problem to have for everybody. I think we've talked extensively about the plan for Keegan being captain, and we've talked about scenarios where if something were to happen, what would that look like? And we're lucky enough to be able to have the captains, the vice captains we have, we have Jim in there with a ton of experience kind of walking us through this process between myself and Webb and Kevin. We have other guys who have had experience as well. So I think we're all there to support Keegan in whatever way we need to. I think our biggest message as vice captains and guys on the team has been telling Keegan is, hey, let's focus on golf here to the U.S. Open. Let's make sure you're giving everything forward. You're the kind of player that we want on this team. So go out there and play great golf, and let's deal with a great problem to have come September.
Let me ask you about you. Look, anybody who does what you've done as well as you've done it for as long as you've done it, you're hyper competitive. What has this done in terms of psychologically your own athletic mortality as a player? 44 will be 45 at the end of the year. You know the commitment and time required from this. You love playing golf. Has this been challenging to accept that you can't devote, or maybe you can, the time to being as best as you can be for as long as you can be?
I think there's a duality here of, yes, it kind of shows a time in your life when you become one of these captaincies that maybe your game's not what it once was, but it also can motivate you to say, okay, well, I want to be out there playing with these guys and see how they're playing every week, and I want to be competing with them. To know, I think it's a valuable thing that I can bring to the table for this team is being out here with the guys every week and playing and competing against them and seeing what's going on, not just seeing scores on Sunday afternoon on my phone or following it on TV, but being out there in the locker room with the guys, watching guys play on Tuesday, Wednesday, getting to know, build these relationships and build trust with these guys and let them understand I'm there for them. I'm supporting them 1,000%, and also getting to know a lot of young guys. This tour's always ever changing. There's always new guys out here, and so being out here and being able to locker room with these guys and get to know them and sit down and talk to them a little bit, I think is super valuable. That way, it's not a new relationship you're trying to build in 3 weeks when you find out he's going to be on the team next year. It's something that's been building for over 2 years. And so there's a lot more trust, a lot more belief in each other that way. So I think it's a great thing to have. I'm super excited about my golf game. I've been playing a lot better this year. Just can't seem to put 4 rounds together at the moment, but that's coming, and I love I love the fact that I'm still this committed to it. It's still a passion of mine. I still want to do it every day when I get up and go practice and hit balls, and I can't wait to get out there next week and compete again.
All right, let's get you out of here. 5 quick questions for the U.S. President's Cup captain, Brandt Snedeker. Nashville has always been a great town. Now it's like this hot celebrity town. Athletes. Who is the best non-professional golfer player in the greater Nashville area? Who's got game who doesn't play for a living?
There's a lot of Yes, that's a great question. There's a lot of great ex-athletes here who play quite a bit of golf. Brett Hull lived here for a while. I think he's recently moved, but he was a really good golfer. He played every day. Great hockey player, obviously Hall of Famer, but was a legit scratch golfer and could really move the ball around. Country music wise, Vince Gill forever was the godfather here. He was a great golfer. Could really hit the golf ball great. Probably a legit scratcher, won a handicap back in the day. He's gotten a little older now. He's like me. We've gotten a little older, not quite as good as we once were. But the great thing about the game of golf is it's funny. All these guys that live here in town now, all these great athletes and musicians, they all want to be professional golfers, and all the professional golfers want to be great athletes or be musicians. So it goes both ways.
No doubt. All right, give me the word that Lily or Austin uses that you needed them to give you the definition of that word. Some youth, I think they're like 14 and 13 now. They speak a different language. Give me a word that they use. You're like, what does that mean? Yeah,
my daughter's into using like abbreviations. She'll say something like whatever it is, like LBK or I'll be there in a minute or something. There's something I don't even know what it means, and so I'm like, we speak English in this family. Please use the full language. And then they both gotten into both my kids have gotten into saying brah all the time. When I say something stupid like brah, and I'm like, we're not in California. We're not allowed to talk like that. We're not cool enough to talk like that. So let's get back to the English language here.
All right, 25 years ago, it was Tigers 2000. What's the best shot you ever saw him hit in person?
There were a lot. I mean, I remember the first time I played with him. I think what people don't understand about how good Tiger was, it wasn't the great shots that he hit. It was his ability to hit the correct shot all the time. And like what was so impressive about him, I remember playing with him in Cog Hill, my second year on tour, where he ended up winning by, I think, 9 shots in 2009. And his ability to hit a 5-iron or a 7-iron or a 3-iron into the middle of the green with the correct shape to tough pins was just second to none. Like his ability and his discipline to hit the correct shot at the right time was unmatched by anybody I've ever seen. And yes, he has the wow shots. Don't get me wrong. He hits shots that nobody else can hit, but I think what was more impressive to me, at least, was his ability to stand up. And, I'll use 2019 Masters as an example of his shot into 12.
Yep.
It was an easy shot. It was a 9-iron, right? But his ability to hit the correct shot at the correct moment all the time was what was so impressive to me.
All right, your favorite Vanderbilt haunt, a campus joint that I hope is still there. What was your favorite go-to right around campus?
Yeah, it's called Satco, San Antonio Taco Company, right behind campus. It's a legend. Got some of the best cheese dip anywhere. Love going down there and before a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game and getting a little taco and a little queso to go.
Opened in the early 80s. When I enrolled in the fall of 85, it was already there. All right, last thing. The last time you paid retail for any clothing item, what year was it?
Oh, it was this week. Peter Millar.
No way.
Scott Mahoney. I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
That actually wouldn't surprise anybody.
I know. I gotta give a shout out to my boy Scott Mahoney at Peter Millar. He's a good buddy of mine. I love giving him a hard time. But no, I still, I mean, all the time. I love wearing Viore, workout gear. Pay for full retail for that stuff. There's no side deals on that. So I'm not one
shocked.
of these guys. Yeah, I'm not one of these guys to go for freebies. I've had a good career. I can support the economy a little bit, so
Very good.
no skin off my back. No skin off my back.
Very good. Well, you got the swag that you're going to be sporting proudly. I know it means a lot to you, to Mandy, to represent not only the United States, but your peer group and to lead these guys for the next 18 months, culminating at Medina. Thank you for taking the time. I look forward to seeing you soon enough.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate you having me, and go USA.
All right, there you go. Brandt Snedeker, the United States President's Cup captain. We continue here on this Wednesday. Michael Bamberger is going to join us. I'm going to give you a little historical context about the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup and how they were not that different. The first 15, not that different at all as we talk about the imbalance and the lack of competitiveness in these events. We're back right here on a Wednesday. It is 5 Clubs. Yes, it is. Back after this. Welcome back in on this Wednesday. It is 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel. And of course, if you're leaving the house, you can certainly listen on PGA Tour Radio. That's channel 92 on Sirius XM. And this segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. I've been fortunate to be aligned with this great company as they have grown to being the leader when it comes to anything that you need. And it's not just golf, it's a lifestyle brand. There is nothing that you wear throughout your day, whatever you do, from going to the gym to walking into a boardroom, that they do not have the answer for you. Heck, you need luggage? They've got it as well. It's Peter Millar, refining performance, luxury, and style for more than 2 decades. You know, Brandt Snedeker is somebody who I think is a good example of evolution. And I know it's the President's Cup and it's not the Ryder Cup. And I understand that for decades and decades, the Ryder Cup wasn't in some type of bylaw that it was, if you win a major, you have a chance to be the Ryder Cup captain. And specifically, if you win the PGA Championship, then you really are likely to be a Ryder Cup captain. And Steve Stricker was the first American who captained a Ryder Cup team who was not a major champion. And in Europe, first of all, they don't have as many major champions. And they also did something a little bit, it's not that it was orthodox or unorthodox, is that they would bring captains back, whereas we didn't necessarily do that on the United States side. But I want to speak to something that is the challenge that the President's Cup currently has, and that is the imbalance of the result. Because they have had 15 President's Cups starting in 1994. And in those 15, the United States has won 13 of them. They had the one tie. It was an unusual circumstance in South Africa on fading light, and Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. And Jack's like, we'll just call it a tie. And in the event of a tie, we won the last one, so we'll retain it. It was like he was making it up as he went along, which was amazing live television. And Gary went, wait, what did you just say? No, what tie means we're going to share it. And I don't know that that was exactly the perfect answer. But in the first 15, it's been 13-1-1. Not great. The first 15 Ryder Cups were 12-3. The United States against Great Britain and Ireland. And then continental Europe was added in 1979. So they were lots of blowouts. And really, it was just one less win over the course of the first 15 competitions. The U.S. won 12 of the first 15 Ryder Cups. The United States has won 13 of the first 15 President's Cups. But beyond that, if you look at the point differential between the international team and the United States team when it comes to the President's Cup all time, 72 points. In the case of the Ryder Cup, the first 15, 65. And consider this, the Ryder Cup, they were only playing for 12 points for the first 9 of them. The President's Cup started with 32 points, went all the way up to 34, and now it's back down to 30. So theoretically, in total, even though it's not been as competitive as far as the actual final result, it's been more competitive. And let me add this one last wrinkle to the idea that it's non-competitive, it's not that very interesting. The last 5 Ryder Cups, the average differential in margin of victory, 6.6 points. In the President's Cup, 4.6. The difference is that it's been the United States 5, the international side 0, and in the Ryder Cup it's been 3-2. The international side just can't cross the line. But in the last decade, from day to day and from session to session, it's actually been more competitive. The Ryder Cup has just seen a series of blowouts, which has been one team blowing out another and then returning the serve on home soil. And that obviously is what the United States would like to do this year. There's no doubt that the international team needs to start landing punches and knocking out the USA. Snedeker obviously doesn't want it to happen on his watch, but time takes time, and this thing is not going anywhere. It's just a question of how quickly can they start to actually win on the biggest and most important scoreboard. All right, we're going to take a break. When we continue, a guy who has authored a number of wonderful books, and I've read them all. He's got a new one coming out. That's for his next visit. Today we focus on some things that I know he's going to give me some very interesting perspectives on. That, of course, Michael Bamberger, senior writer at Golf Magazine, golf.com, and the author as well. We continue with him on a Wednesday. It is 5 Clubs, back after this. Back in on this Wednesday on 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel, also on PGA Tour Radio. That's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment is brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. The cottages at Pinehurst number 8, you can book them now. They're available in the month of May, and the month of May is at the end of this week. And of course, Pinehurst number 10, that new clubhouse and restaurant, going to be available for you this summer. They're always making the experience at the cradle of American golf better and better. All right, joining me now, he has written so many wonderful books. He's got a new one. We're going to talk in detail about that book, The Playing Lesson, the next time he's on the program. Today, I can ask him anything, and he's going to give me a very interesting viewpoint. I'm speaking, of course, senior writer at Golf Magazine, that is golf.com, Michael Bamberger. My friend, good morning.
Good morning to you. Gary, do you wear this blazer with the 5 on it every day? Is
Not every day, but I might start. I feel like Eric Stratton, Rush chairman, damn glad to meet you.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever worn, or maybe it's so ridiculous it's the sportiest thing I've ever worn. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't want to be the first person to crack the joke, but do you know the 5 Timers Club bit on Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
Has anyone cracked this joke yet?
Not yet. It's the first time I've worn it.
Oh, well, then it's appropriate. So for those who don't know, once you've hosted the Saturday Night Live 5 times, they give you this purple shawl. And Tom Hanks, I think, was the first to get it, and Tina Fey's gotten it. It's a whole bit on Saturday Night Live. Now, you got the wrong hue there, and you're probably maybe 5 short of. But anyway, but I was thinking after, now let me think, you'll know this better than I, Gary. Annika's won 5 straight on the LPGA Tour. Nancy Lopez has, and Nelly Korda has. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So they should get one of your blazers, their own. You know, you could start your own 5 Timers Club for the LPGA division.
See, I knew there would be something that you would say. I'd said, I never thought of it that way. That will
Gary,
go right into.
I should exit now.
Yes, get out on a high, like George Costanza. Good night, everybody. All right, let me start with this, because I haven't had a chance to chat with you post Rory. You've seen a lot of extraordinary things. And with respect to what's next, he's always been interesting. I think it now gets even more interesting. Does your intuition tell you that this could be like a 2.0 kind of blitz? He's 35, soon to be 36, but this unburdened by this 10-year pursuit may put him in a place where we're looking up in 3 years and he's got 8? Or do you think he might get to that number, but it'll be more methodical over the next 7, 8 years?
Well, let's see him get to 6. It's going to be so hard to get to 6. It's,
Fair.
No, I don't think this opens up anything. I think he got very lucky to win that tournament. He knows he got lucky. You can't really make doubles on 1 and 13 and expect to win. When you're talking about going on a tear, you're talking about being Big Jack in his prime, Hogan in his prime, Tiger in his prime, where you're way better than the field. You are demonstrably better than the field. He is not demonstrably better in the field. So I don't really see how or why anything should change, except for the very significant fact that he's an outstanding world-class golfer, one of the best we've ever seen, and he should contend. And in majors, you win at the same percentage pretty much that you win your regular tour events. So he'll contend in regular tour events, he'll contend in majors, and I hope for his sake he can win another.
How do you, and how have you, and I don't know how much time you devoted to trying to talk about, because you just mentioned greatness, and you mentioned greatness over the course of, when you mentioned Hogan and then Jack and then Tiger, we're going back to the mid 40s, all the way up until 2019, the last time Tiger won a golf tournament. How do you try to talk about eras to where you try to make the conversation equitable to each era?
Oh, okay. To compare greats from different eras or our own path into the game. To compare greats to different eras, I really feel like you can compare the Hogan, Nelson, Snead era to Palmer, to Nicklaus, almost right up through Curtis and Tom Watson, because the equipment was essentially the same. If you look at U.S. Open equipment from the 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s, it's basically the same equipment, and they're faced with the same challenge. But I think since the era of the big-headed driver, the driver as a skill club has been turned on its head, and it's not what it was. When they talk about Fred as a great driver, Greg Norman as a great driver, Tiger as a young player, Nicklaus, of course, Watson is a bad driver, Seve is a bad driver, is because that driver was so hard to manage with the steel shaft, the small head, and most especially the soft ball. So I would definitely, in terms of eras, I would really distinguish between the big-headed driver era, which really changed the emphasis on now you just, of course, that's been said forever, drive it long, it doesn't matter where, and you can wedge it on, to that early era. So I guess in our lifetime, Gary, and the generation before ours, I would distinguish between big-headed driver and small-headed driver.
How about the idea of looking at a best generation? I have great affection for the 70s in particular. I call them the Rough Riders. You look through that, all those hombres, they weren't afraid of anybody. And if you look at their hall, major championship hall, they all have like, wow, he's got 3 and he's got 5 and he's got 6. And then you look at today and you go, well, there's more depth and those guys wouldn't win as many. How do you have that conversation in terms of looking at the Ray Floyds and the Trevinos? And Lanny only got 1 major, but we know that he was so good. Weiskopf only got 1. And then you look at guys of the last 25 years, and yes, more players from around the world. How do you exercise your mind in that respect?
That is really a sophisticated question, and we've had this conversation before. My own phrase for the 70s is, the last days of persimmon, like the last days of disco, and one of everyone knows the name William Hurt. Everyone who follows acting knows the name William Hurt. They may not know he had a wife named Mary Beth Hurt, who was a very distinguished actress herself. And one of the things that she said is, people dress the way they did when they were happiest in their lives. So like you always saw Arnold wearing, the hard collar shirt with the 4 plackets in the pocket, because it goes back to, his era of greatness or whatever it may be. The point here being is that we're super drawn to the era when we fell in love, and you and I both fell in love with golf in the 70s. And one of those things of those, and here, by the way, Hubert Green, John Mahaffey, Jerry Pate, Andy North, Curtis Strange, it's a murderer's row in a pre-statistical era of, we measured their toughness for ourselves through either being lucky enough to be at a tournament, watching broadcasts, reading Dave Anderson in the New York Times, reading Golf Digest interviews. So we were drawn to the personalities, and those personalities were, I know you can't even use this phrase anymore. I hope I'm not going to get canceled after. But they were manly men. They really were, and we were drawn to it. And even the country club kids like Nicklaus and Watson were manly men. I can't use that phrase twice. But then, of course, you had people who were totally self-made, like Arnold and like Lee Trevino, and a murderer's row of others. So losing my trail here a little bit, Gary, help me out. But like you, I'm super drawn to that era. Yes, I really do think that there is more depth in golf now, but I don't think we have that outsized personality that you and I grew up on and fell in love with.
William Hurt, every morning I use the tip given to him by Albert Brooks. I'm sitting on the back of my sport coat from Broadcast News so that my shoulder line is clean. I know you remember that little note from that terrific movie as well. You mentioned big personalities. Bryson leaving in I think an interesting way. He's the one who's benefited most. He contends in majors. He's a YouTube sensation. He's found whoever it is that he needed to find as far as, kind of his footing as far as who he was going to be. Is that fair?
I completely agree with that. The PGA Tour, which you and I have been around a lot. One of the things that's really interesting about it, I've written this many times, but I will repeat it, is that the players look like conformists, but they think like cowboys. But for Bryson, that wasn't working because Bryson really is, whatever you want to say about Bryson, he truly is a nonconformist. But the PGA Tour was sort of clamping down on pace of play, and you're strange, and your swing is strange, and your grips are strange, and he couldn't really be himself. When he got on that Live Tour, he did. I think what you said is entirely correct. He was very comfortable, quote, being himself, and it's worked for him.
Unfortunately, we've got to run to a break because I've got other things I've got to do. I didn't get to talk about Philly cricket. Just in 30 seconds, how tickled are you that this place, which is so charming, so special, means so much to you, is going to have the stage next week?
Yeah, I'm thrilled. It's a Chillinghouse course. These guys don't get to play old-timey courses like this very often. Speaking for myself, and I know other members as well, we don't care if they kill it or not. The course is the course. We all love it, and we think it's going to hold up great, and we think they're going to have a wonderful week, and we welcome them. It's
going to be great. Next time you're on, soon enough, The Playing Lesson, your new book. We're going to talk about that in great detail. It's great to see you. I hope to see you next week in Philly. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael Bamberger, all of his books, Men in Green, that one in particular gets to me, The Ball in the Air, all of them. All right, we take a quick break. We got dogs, we got picks, we got stuff to do. We're back right after this. Welcome back in. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. All players, every level, the best players in the world trust Golf Pride, and so do you. That's why they're the #1 grip in the world. You just saw it. Our favorite segment of the week, Dogs of the Week. If you want your dog that has a relationship with the game of golf, send it in. It's dogs@fiveclubsgolf.com. My dog, which is in the open, Bucky, celebrated his 14th birthday 2 days ago. He is the man. He's the OG in our house. All right, let's get to the dogs. Who do we have this week? We start with Charlie. Look at Charlie, submitted by Tracy Gray, the Beverage Cart dog at Topstone Golf Course in South Windsor, Connecticut. Meanwhile, John Riley sent in these two dogs, Millie Benilli, the Australian Shepherd, and Wingman, the Border Collie. John is the director of agronomy at the resort at Longboat Key Club. Moving on to the next dog. Look at that. That is Tilly Rose. The owner is George Graham. He's a good friend of Brendan DeYoung's. That is on the practice tee at Pine Needles in Pinehurst, North Carolina, one of the great golf courses. And finally, we've got Bailey, the Australian Shepherd. And then we also have Artie, who is an English Bulldog from Shining Rock Golf Club in Northbridge, Mass., submitted by Mike Stacy. He's the head golf professional at Norton Country Club in Norton, Mass. Those are your dogs of the week. And again, send them in, dogs@fiveclubsgolf.com. All right, we transition from dogs to my dog picks because they've been awful. And Taylor Zarzier, if you're watching, he just texted me saying, I'm locked in. Why don't you put this segment in the A block? Let us produce our show. You produce your show. All right, let's take a look at the standings. Johnson Wagner is on a heater. 3 wins in a row. He goes Rory, JT, and then he picks Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin. He's on a flyer right now. Gil Hance. Gil is a one-trick pony, as you will see soon enough. He is in second. Taylor, been solid, been very solid over the last month and a half. Emma there in fourth. I've been awful. Jay's been worse. Brendan has been putrid. That is the analysis of our selection so far in 2025. So with that, the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. I'm playing the hot hand in the sense that Ben Griffin, not only did he get the win with Andrew Novak at the Zurich Classic, Ben Griffin, you're going, well, he's going to be exhausted. Guy plays every week. He played 35 events last year. Gil Hanse is playing Scottie Scheffler. That's it, Gil. You have played him 5 times, and that is the rule. You can only play a player 5 times over the course of the season. It's not May 1st, and Gil is emptying the bucket on Scheffler. Emma goes with Sun Jae Im. Taylor with Siwoo Kim. I like that pick. Jake Knapp for not only Johnson Wagner, but Brendan Young. Brendan trying to draft off of Johnson, and I feel bad that I picked Ben Griffin because Jade Billis did, and Jay's as bad at this as I am. The CJ Cup is an event where, again, the Byron Nelson had not only didn't have so much that it had a nomadic existence there for a period, but it kind of did as it was trying to find where its home was going to be. And it's out there at Craig Ranch, and it means that you're going to have to make 5,000 birdies to contend to possibly win. Likelihood of a first-time winner as well. So that is what is on tap for the PGA Tour. I know the Regions Tradition. This is a great event for PGA Tour champions this week down there in the state of Alabama. They have great celebrities. You get guys like Nick Saban, Bo Jackson. And people who see Bo Jackson, it's like seeing a mythical figure because you're like, that's the guy who, Dad, you said is the greatest athlete you've ever seen. And the dad says, you're damn right he was. So that is what's going on with the Senior Tour and PGA Tour champions. Next week, Frank Nobilo is going to join us because we're going to be ramping toward not only the Truist Championship at Philly Cricket, but obviously the PGA Championship and the PGA of America's president as well. Have a great rest of your week.